what would you rate Michael B. Jordan?
About 4 out of 10, maybe 3.5. Super facially challenged.
Ryan Gosling is a 5.75 out of 10 facially.
I would say Sydney Sweeney is very attractive.
I would say that she's pretty malformed.
Spend a few minutes online and it's very easy to feel ugly. And in response to that, a whole movement has grown around trying to fix it. It's called Looksmaxxing. For most guys, this involves grooming better, getting in shape, and ultimately feeling more confident. But we're seeing this being taken to increasingly extreme lengths.
I use crystal for hollow cheeks.
And I would say the trend is quite positive.
I've been experimenting on and off with bone smashing to see if I can improve my facial structure.
Well, that was the exact plot of a SpongeBob episode with handsome Squidward. A lot of this isn't satire. Online, people are now analysing faces like stock charts, calling movie stars average, while kids are asking if they look subhuman. Some older members even beg them to leave before it's too late. So what's going on? Why are men now breaking their own bones, injecting black market drugs and gambling their health, all in the hopes of looking more like terror chads?
What do you think?
What you just watched was a competitive mog-off, where these guys are trying to win the most amount of votes for who's the most attractive. If you want to increase your chances of mogging, you could attend Mogwarts, an online school for becoming hot. But it's not just niche communities. An increasing amount of actors, athletes, and even CEOs have completely transformed their appearances. I saw a photo recently of who I thought was Mike O'Hearn. I didn't even recognize it was one of my favorite authors, Matthew Walker, the sleep doctor. The male beauty and cosmetic industry has exploded over the last few years. So how did we get here? What makes a man attractive has always been multifaceted. Researchers recognize key traits like physical cues, status, and personality. Looks have always mattered, but they were only one piece of the puzzle, but they've become increasingly emphasized with the creation of social media. Just look at this graph for how couples are meeting. In-person connections have fallen, while online dating has exploded. Now, you can meet people from anywhere in the world. It's a much bigger pond. And for many, it feels more competitive. And as real-world social spaces have declined massively, many men started turning to the internet for answers. That's where free worldviews took shape. Blue pill, what most people fall under. Dating is about personality, kindness, and connection. Be yourself and things will work out. Red pillars see this as remaining in a comforting illusion, because they believe that dating is really about status, confidence, and dominance. If you level up, you can win. This is seeing the true rules of attraction. But then there's a black pill. Your genetics and looks decide everything. If you're unattractive, it's already over. A brutally fatalistic idea. As a skinny teenager, that idea felt bleak. I already felt unsure about myself. Everywhere I looked, I would see more and more fitness transformations where someone would completely transform. So I saw getting shredded as a solution to all my problems. I couldn't see it yet, but this was the beginning of a pretty unhealthy chapter, as a new ideology was quietly growing.
Male glow-ups have reached new levels with the rise of something called Looksmaxxing. It's a TikTok trend taking hold of men seeking to maximize their physical appearance.
But it didn't start on TikTok. It originated in anonymous forums, filled with men who believed they were genetically doomed in dating.
I think that every woman who encounters me on the street is inherently disgusted by me. I'm physically unattractive, I'm visibly autistic, and I have no experience speaking to females.
Many had felt ignored and assumed it was their looks that were responsible. So they started to wonder, how could they optimize them? In its earliest form, Looksmaxxing was extreme. Surgeries, drugs, anything that promised escape from being labelled genetically inferior. And what kept people locked into it was an uncomfortable truth. Looks really do matter, and studies back that up.
Hamimesh et al. Found that attractive individuals tend to earn 3 to 4% more than their less attractive counterparts.
While 58% of Fortune 500 CEOs are over 6 foot, even though only around 15% of the US male population reach that height.
Well, Ruffle and colleagues have shown that unattractive criminals go to jail for twice as long as attractive criminals.
Now, correlation does not mean causation, but pretty privilege does seem to exist. Psychologists call this the halo effect, the tendency to assume that good-looking people are more competent, more trustworthy, and more valuable. So the forums tried to turn attraction into something objective. They built systems, facial ratios, skull measurements, and eye-shaped theories, all designed to create a mechanical hierarchy of beauty. The most famous was a PSL scale, a ranking from 1 to 8.
Goes from subhuman, sub 5, Chad.
The goal of Looksmaxxing is simple: ascension. Move up the ladder, and to do that, there's two paths. Soft maxing, which is the more mild stuff you see on TikTok. Skin maxing, hair maxing, gym maxing. But then there's hard maxing. Permanent, often high-risk changes to the body. This includes jaw surgeries, performance-enhancing drugs, but also more extreme stuff, such as the brutally painful leg-lengthening surgery.
At around $100,000 for the surgery, with months of rehabilitation afterwards, this is not something to take lightly.
Some forms of hard maxing have become normalized, like braces or hair transplants. But because many of these procedures are expensive or age-limited, some teenagers turn to extreme DIY alternatives. But before we dive into the darker side of a trend and its wider effects, a quick word from today's sponsor, Legend London. They make minimalist clothing designed to fit you better if you're more athletic. Often, well-fitting clothing looks a lot better than loud branding. They design everything around a more athletic frame, broader up top, without the overly tight gym bro look. I've been wearing their stuff for years, back when skinny jeans was still a thing. It's one of the few brands where the quality still holds up. What I use the most now are their t-shirts. They stay soft and fit well around the chest and the arms, while being more relaxed around the waist, while also being weirdly stain resistant, as I found after spilling my drink down myself. They also make trousers in 3 different fits: relaxed, regular, and tapered. If you want to check them out, you can use the code BRETT for an extra discount. It also directly supports the channel, so we can keep making these videos. So thanks to Legend London for allowing us to research Max and edit Max this video. Glow up transformations were my first window into this world. There's these apps which you can scan your face with and generate these Looksmaxxing top trumps, with the goal of leveling up your stats. The most highest rated on the PSL scale are referred to as the PSL gods. Anonymous forums are typically edgy in nature. Not everything is to be taken seriously. There's a mix of trolling and genuine degeneracy, which is why news sites struggle to understand it. But beneath the memes are guys seeking advice. A lot of it boils down to losing body fat, skincare, and personal hygiene. But you'll also find guides on how to maximize your testicle volume, how to lose a pound of fat a day with miracle drugs, and more obsessive posts, such as this kid who shared his photos, along with every single measurement from his body, only to be told by over 100 people that he is truly subhuman. With the top comment being, "I think you should take a break from this forum, bro." People can get quite obsessive, such as this guy who made a whole post about how he'd look kissing a girl. The top response, "Why do you do this to yourself?" But there's something sad about some of these posts. A young guy will post their photo along with a self-loathing caption, "Is it even possible for a human to look more subhuman than me?" And it's met with questionable advice. Inject tea and human growth hormone ASAP, not even trolling. Rope you are to subhuman. Yes, sorry, very subhuman, look like vermin.
So the overwhelming majority of people said, well, basically that I'm unsavable, and the only recommendation for me is surgery.
I started posting in the bodybuilding forum as a 14-year-old looking for advice. A lot of it was decent, but you'd also get people taking the piss. But I stuck around because I wanted to do what it takes, whether that's wearing joggers under my school trousers to look less skinny, or putting weights in my school bag. I even asked for fat calipers for Christmas when I was looking like this. Shame or feeling insecure can be a very powerful motivator for change, but for many, it becomes an unhealthy obsession, as indicated by this post, where a 14-year-old asked people to rate him. Get off the forum, go outside and make friends now. For most people, it stops there, but for some,
you can always be thinner, look better.
That's how figures like clavicular rise.
If you could go back in time, would you still take test at 14 years old?
Absolutely, yeah. $35,000 for a double jaw surgery. I use crystal for hollow cheeks. I'm not a huge longevity guy.
He became famous inside the Looksmaxxing spaces for taking things further than anyone else. He posted about watching surgery videos so he could operate on himself, drug use, and about how you could use student loans to pay for plastic surgery, until he was reported to the university.
I was kicked out of uni for essentially roid maxing.
But by then, he was already a popular influencer. Most people are watching for the entertainment or shock value.
I literally witnessed Clav snort meth. Literally. witnessed it.
While others see him as proof that if you're willing to sacrifice everything, you could ascend. The media often presents the darker side like it's new, but we've seen something very similar before.
And now, Stacy, take off the bag. Here we go, and let's see the face.
Is that a speed bump on the way?
Stacy's got to be tough when the crowd starts freaking out.
This was classic 2000s television, where humiliation was entertainment, and where modern beauty culture went mainstream. Because today, the global beauty industry is worth over $600 billion. Back in the early 1900s, advertising was simple. You sold the product, the price, and the quantity. But for America, to enter its golden age of capitalism, something had to change. You see, you could only sell so many bars of soap. That's when companies started hiring psychologists to try and drive more sales, such as Edward Bernays, the father of modern PR, and the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He believed people were irrational, insecure, impulsive, and emotional. And if you could tap into that, you could get them to buy anything. So he reframed products as symbols. He took cigarettes, which were taboo for women at the time, and branded them as torches of freedom. He linked smoking to female liberation, and cigarette sales soared. This is where marketers started really focusing on pressing on pain points, with classics like, "If men hate the sight of you, read this. Romance dies of a touch of dishpan hands. This is no shape for a girl." It's far more profitable to market inferiority. I'm not a communist or anti-business, but there's definitely a line that gets crossed. When tabloids fat-shame Britney Spears for clicks, when heroin chic was sold as a beauty ideal, out of that came eating disorder communities, risky cosmetic procedures, and generations of women who hated their reflection. For decades, this machine was aimed almost entirely at women, but now it's being pointed at men. We have drugs being used as glow-up tools. Instead of airbrushed magazine covers, you get fabricated AI glow-ups, which thousands of people are falling for, along with rebranded eating disorders and forms of body dysmorphia. This is where it started going wrong for me. I was copying fitness influencers' disordered eating tips, spending most of my money on useless fat burners, and I picked up health issues from nutrient deficiencies. Despite looking better, I felt worse. When you turn self-worth into a product, someone always pays the price. The people staring at the screen, wondering what's wrong with them.
This guy has now had 10 surgeries in a year, and he says he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, including the latest procedure just a few weeks ago where his eyes were turned outwards again.
Not even the people paying tens of thousands for the best surgeries are guaranteed to have no complications. Take leg lengthening surgery. It costs over $100,000 and involves breaking both femurs and slowly pulling them apart over months. If it works, you gain a few inches of height, but you also lose athleticism, and in worst case scenarios, it can lead to amputation. Now, these are extreme, but the tools behind them are now being repackaged and marketed to far younger people. Teenagers who'd be turned away by doctors are turning to Telegram chats, forums, and grey market labs to chase the same changes.
After 6 weeks, I had liver failure.
How the fucking liver failure? How?
It was hard because every night, every single hour, my parents came in my room to check if I was dead, basically.
Yet, these are often glorified and promoted to teenagers.
Looksmaxxing communities are almost competing with each other to try and come up with the most extreme remedies possible for improving your looks.
But by far the most harmful consequences for most people are the psychological ones. I fell into the trap of obsessing over flaws and being hypercritical, because focusing on what I wasn't good at helped me improve in sports and at school. But that mindset started bleeding into everything. I became hard on myself full stop, to the point where when someone would compliment me, I'd assume that they were mocking me. I stopped socializing as much, and I'd feel guilty about when I ever felt okay about myself. What keeps you stuck in this is how comforting that harshness can feel, because somewhere along the way, you start believing that suffering equals progress. But live like that long enough, and you stop believing progress is even possible. Psychologists call it learned helplessness, when repeated failure convinces you nothing you ever do will be good enough, so you stop trying. A lot of these people convince themselves that they're bottlenecked by their 7 out of 10 looks, not the fact their other attributes are at a 2 out of 10, or they've consumed so much pseudoscientific slop that their self-esteem is non-existent.
You know, you went on this when you were like a 17-year-old. That's how you first found out about Looksmaxxing and started using these forums. You're now 20.
20, yep.
Are you happier now, after all this?
No. Wasted so much time, and the perception of myself right now is worse than ever.
We see this with celebrities who keep altering their appearance, even when they already look great. But this pattern isn't new. The ancient Greeks actually had a cautionary tale that captures the darker side of this obsession perfectly. In Greek mythology, Narcissus was a young man who once caught his reflection in a still pool of water. Mesmerized, he kept staring, mistaking it for someone else. He became obsessed, stopped eating and stopped sleeping, eventually wasting away beside the image he could never touch. A narcissus flower grew in his place, which is where the word narcissism comes from.
Did you ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really, really, really ridiculously good looking?
Harvard psychiatrist Dr. Harrison Pope has spent decades studying what he calls the Adonis complex, a condition where men become obsessed with their appearance and believe they're never muscular or attractive enough, even when they already look great. From the outside, it looks like narcissism, but Pope's research shows it's often the opposite. Body dysmorphia for men, driven by unrealistic standards and constant comparisons. But what helped pull me out of my own spiral with fitness wasn't affirmations or self-belief slogans. It was a book from the 1960s that was way ahead of its time. In the 1960s, a plastic surgeon named Maxwell Maltz noticed something strange. Some patients completely changed their faces and still felt ugly. Others barely changed at all and suddenly became more confident and more social. The surgery alone wasn't what changed their lives. It was how they saw themselves. If someone believed they were broken, no new face could fix it. Self-image isn't just how you see yourself, it's how you think the world sees you. As one sociologist put it, you're not who you think you are, you're not who others think you are, you're who you think others think you are. That's the paradox. Improving how you look can improve how you feel, but only when it's not rooted in hate. This is what I wish I realized sooner, back when I was struggling with disordered eating and exercise habits. I don't know if I'd have listened to this, but I should have focused on things more holistically. In other words, focusing on trying to be good rather than just looking good. I'm a big proponent for self-improvement, but a bit of self-acceptance isn't being complacent. Without it, you're wide open to the worst parts of the fitness and beauty industry. Improve how you look if you want to, just don't let an algorithm decide what you're worth.